Man, what's going on with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore is crazy. Baltimore Ravens are having a problem paying a unanimous MVP who's 25 years old the money he wants. Why is that? Don't you think they're questioning whether or not they think that guy can carry the football team to a Super Bowl? Do they want to get in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes of paying somebody $51 million? Would you? They're telling right now, do you think anybody's got a deal on the table right now for Lamar Jackson for $51 million? And 2 first-round picks to give to Baltimore. You think anybody has that on the table right now? Any other team outside of Baltimore? Think any team has that? M. Reyes goes, Lamar doesn't have the intelligence that Jalen Hurts does. What? How would you know that? It's an asinine comment. How do you know that? I don't know that. How would you think that Jalen's smarter than Lamar? He's a MVP, more accomplished. Actually beat franchise quarterbacks. He's actually beaten Mahomes. How do you know that? He's won 75% of his games. Led the NFL in touchdown passes. Excuse me? Jalen Hurts is no more accomplished in his time in the NFL than what Carson Wentz was at his time in the NFL in the same time period. Don't go there, man. And the difference is Wentz has got a ring. Oh, but Wentz is he sucks as a player today. Okay. It's been my point the whole time. You don't know is my point. Jalen's Wonderlic score was higher. Yeah, Jalen's got to beat a quarterback that's decent. And I'm talking Lamar Jackson here. He beats those AFC quarterbacks. Question is health. The biggest quarterback Jalen Hurts has ever beaten. A 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Okay, fair enough. And who else? You got to beat those dudes. Oh, and by the way, like I said, we're going to find out more this year about this dude than we did a year ago because he's going to have to carry the mail. I don't care who likes what I'm saying right now, and I could care less if I'm on an island with this. I could care less. You don't like it? That's tough shit. This is reality. You got to win them games against people, and you've got to be the reason that you won, not your roster. Again, 2023 is going to be a lot to watch. Offense is intact. I'm saying they'll get depth. They'll find some depth in the draft. They will. They'll figure out that right guard position because they got a great coach. That defensive side of the ball, man, there is a ton of work. A ton of work. And like I have pointed out, what's funny is this. The 49ers got to an NFC title game with a guy making the same amount of money as Gardner Johnson did a year ago. They didn't have to put in any gigantic investment. You know what their problem is in San Francisco? They drafted wrong. All those first-round draft choices they gave to get in the 2-hole to get Trey Lance, I don't know. The only thing that will save that move in San Francisco is if Brock Purdy pans out. Just like the Carson Wentz deal was saved by Jalen Hurts being a second-round draft choice. It seems. He saved Howie's ass, actually, from that disaster. Think about the first-round draft choices that these guys have missed on. Wentz, Dillard, Derek Barnett, Jalen Reagor. Yeah, everyone waves these crazy non-reality flags for Howie Roseman that he's some sort of draft guru. He's by far not. I mean, I named you 4 ones. Got the quarterback position wrong. Got the wide receiver position wrong. What did he do? He went in free agency and covered it. He went for certainty. That's the difference here this year in 23 versus 22. How did he cover mistakes? With veterans. Paid Hassan Reddick money. Went out and got a $20 million wide receiver. Bro, he paid for his mistakes salary-wise. You think he was getting A.J. Brown for free? Paid the guy $20 million. Reddick, 15. Bradbury, 8. Now, a new deal. Slay. All these failures in the draft he covered in free agency. Because why? He went for the certainty. And what I mean by the certainty is that you went and got experienced players that you knew were NFL talent guys. When you go into the draft, like many of you guys say, when you go into the draft, it's a flip of the coin. This guy's good. This guy's bad. It's a flip of the coin. Some guys turn out to be superstars. Some guys turn out to be super duds. Yale goes, it worked last year. It worked last year because he had the money. He doesn't have the money. Or he doesn't have the latitude. I'm going to get to Jalen here in a minute here and how to negotiate with the kid now. All of Howie's big deals in the recent 10 years have been free agents, not draft. Let's see. Devontae, Landon Dickerson, Josh Sweat, Mulata in the 7th. Well, he's not a high draft choice. I'm talking his high picks. His high picks, Devontae, Landon, in the last 10 years. Devontae, Landon, Josh Sweat. How would you say Jurgens? He hasn't played. Last 10 years, there have been more failures at the first round than successes in the Eagles. Last 10 years, can you count? Let me move on. Again, the headline story coming into March 10th, here on a Monday, is that the Eagles have lost 7 starters off the 2022 NFC Championship football team. I made the comment, and people have tried softening it by saying this was to be expected. Okay? Vet says Jurgens is a stud. Sure hope so. Again, one of the words I hate the most, hope. You know what hope is? It's rubbing a crystal ball praying for something to happen. That's not a certainty. Free agency. When you bring a guy like A.J. Brown in, you know that guy's a ball player. You know he's going to bring something to the table. When you draft a guy, you don't know shit. That's why you want to hear the dumbest conversation that you could possibly have. And you know why I don't do a lot of draft shows the day after? It's the dumbest comments and the dumbest analysis you could possibly have on players. Most of the players don't even have a jockstrap from the team or a helmet yet. And people give their analysis on what they think that player has brought to the team. It's the dumbest shows on the planet. You'll have no idea after the draft whether or not you drafted a good player. Now, how I look at it is, did you address needs? Was it cost efficient? Does it go in line with your salary cap? Was he productive in college? Is he in the right conference? That's how I look at draft choices. Carson Wentz from North Dakota State. I was laughing on draft day. Now, he had a spurt where he was Brett Favre-ish in a way. But at the end of the day, the league caught up with who he was. It didn't take him long. Because the league always catches up with guys. Once they get the book on you, it's like a baseball player. Once a pitcher knows how to pitch to you, it's over. There's a reason you're a pro ball player. It's not because you're stronger than those college kids. Actually, I would say it's more of a power game in the college ranks than in the pro ranks. Once you get to the NFL, you're playing against elite athletes who are elite football minds. When you line up against a guy like Bruce Matthews, you're lining up not only against a superstar talent, you're lining up against a guy who understands the nuances of the sport and the game and the league. It is night and day, and it's more fundamentals. In that league, it's a league of angles. That league is played at angles. If you're chasing, you're finished. If you're in front of your guy, you're in the game. Once you start becoming a chaser or getting blown off the ball, they know who you are. There are savants of football, brilliant people in that sport. Some of the smartest men. You know, I've told you guys this story before. When I got to Dallas, and I'm sitting in between Randy White and Ed Too Tall Jones, and I'm listening to those two guys talk about playing the defensive line position, I'm sitting there going, man, this is 20 years, 17 years over here of just brilliant play, understanding technique, angles, shades, 3 technique, 1 technique, 2 technique, the slightest turn, false steps. How many times guys take false steps? Once you take a false step, that's one of the things that really makes Jalen one of the smartest players I've watched play the quarterback position. Until you guys consistently bring that up, it's true. He made Fred Warner go from a 4-4 linebacker to a 4-8 linebacker. Why? He froze him the entire game. Even though he didn't put up gigantic numbers, Jalen, he froze Fred Warner almost the entire game for 60 minutes. What do I mean by froze him? That RPO kept him in the room, kept him in his base. Fred was always behind the play. Fred was always behind the play. That's what made him a savant. It makes him a guy who's getting better and better because Jalen studies the game. Same as Brady. Aaron Rodgers doesn't study the game. Aaron Rodgers sits in a hut smoking pot with Joe Rogan. And that's his offseason. Hurts and Brady are in the laboratory working on their craft. Not so much in the weight room, but more so in the laboratory. How can I get better? You ever see these sometimes in the second year a player starts to regress a bit and you're wondering why? He didn't do enough homework in the laboratory. He didn't do enough. One thing I will give Jalen Hurts 1 billion percent. Kid's got to be the most prepared person on the field of any guy that's in that NovaCare Center. And that's what makes him a special dude. Not every guy's built like that. Aaron Rodgers isn't. Michael Vick wasn't. Michael Vick didn't know how to play the quarterback position. What did he say until he got to Andy Reid in Philly? Right? Dude, these quarterbacks that are great quarterbacks, watch this. Hey, they're in the NFL. Well, congratulations. You have to be a gifted player. What separates you is your knowledge of the game. how smart you are, all your stories and journeys that get you to where you need to go. You know, I was listening to my friend say that he met Jalen Hurts, and he met him at the Maxwell Awards. And he was talking to him. You know what happens when you're focused like that? Everything else becomes oblivious around you, your family, your friends, buying things, all that other shit, because it's one thing. You got tunnel vision. You only see this. You don't see anything else. Come off selfish at times. He's got that. He's got that. You know what's funny? Most of the time, the people around you are the people that end up bringing you down because you look up. I always tell people this. You know, you can always tell. I thought Tom Brady looked up for the first time a year ago. And that's why he didn't have really a great focused year. He looked up and around. You know why? He had surrendered finally. After 22 years of ball, Tom Brady surrendered. He looked up and looked around. Said, why? Wasn't worth it. That guy had been laser focused for 22 years. Let me get into, I'm going to hit on the draft here in a second, but I want to ask you something about agencies, agents. Jalen Hurts is without a doubt a quality kid. He's been that way since he was younger, coached by his pop, his situation at Bama, Oklahoma, and his current situation in Philadelphia has led him to this moment here in his life where it's going to be, whatever the number comes out to be, a reward for his family and their dedication to him and his dedication to them. It is going to be a great moment for him. The people that are around him now, your agent. I hate agents. You know why? Because the agent is not only looking out for you, but he's looking out for the next person he's going to represent. I've always had a problem with the totem pole agencies. And Clutch Sports is a totem pole agency. Just like CAA, just like Tom Condon, just like every single agent that's ever been in the NFL. All of them. Drew Rosenhaus, all of them. They're looking for the next dude at your expense. 85 the 49ers, they don't have a quarterback, whatever. And you don't have a defense. 85, 49ers don't have a quarterback, you don't have a defense. I don't know. How is Clutch Sports going to address the Eagles? If I were Jalen, his dad, his family, I would make sure how I wanted the temperature to be. Is Jalen Hurts going to say the Eagles do this? Because right now they got a lot of work to do. 38 days, they got the draft coming up. Okay, 38 days, they got the draft. And you got to deal with some salary cap stuff right now before you get to June 1. Okay? We got to fit all this in by June 1. You get ready for training camp July 27th. Okay? Right. Are you going to go into the 2023 season with Jalen Hurts not under contract for extension? How are you dealing? By the way, Jalen's no different than the guy in Baltimore. He's no better. Guy in Baltimore, people are wondering what is going on. Well, dual threat. You got a guy who's won 75% of his ball games, won a unanimous MVP award, has led the NFL in touchdown passes. And you got an organization not sure if he's worth 2 1s and $51 million. Hurts has done none of that. Hurts has actually played one great year. One. Not three, one. It's a $50 million gamble on 1 year. One. Not two, not three, one. 1 year, $50 million. The price tag for a 1 year guy, Geno Smith, has had one great year. He got 38. 1 year. Is that a $50 million gamble? You thought it was with Carson Wentz. Gave him the money. You gave him the extension. I'm not going by an opinion. I'm going by your actions. One. Yale goes, I'm paying him. Yeah, were you in favor of paying Wentz? Were you in favor of paying Wentz? Yale goes, sometimes you have to take the risk, okay? Yale, curious. Were you in favor of paying Wentz? Yes, at the time. By the way, Yale, I'm not ripping you for that either. Because you like the GM that gambles and the organization that gambles more than the people that don't gamble. There's part of me that digs that too. You're correct. Maurice goes, Sills, how'd you feel about Steve Walsh when he came out of college? Well, I was happened to be in Dallas at the time, and Troy Aikman took me to dinner along with Moose Johnson and Crawford Kerr. We went to dinner, and first thing Troy Aikman said to me was, hey, Sills, Jimmy drafted your boy. I stopped Troy Aikman. Tweet him, ask him. I said, wait a minute. You actually think Jimmy Johnson thinks that Steve Walsh is going to be the starting quarterback in Dallas? And Troy goes, he's your boy. He won a national title with him. I said, that guy is not an NFL quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback. Jimmy drafted that guy for draft equity to get more draft picks, which he did. Troy goes, you're kidding me. Hey, Troy Aikman had said no to Jimmy at Oklahoma when he was trying to recruit him for Oklahoma State. When he was going to transfer from Oklahoma, try to come to Miami, went to UCLA. Troy said no to him twice. That's what I thought of Steve Walsh. I never thought shit of Steve. Great guy, love him, teammate, all of that. I mean, I don't know. I never looked at Steve Walsh coming out of college going, that guy's going to be the starting quarterback for a Super Bowl champion Cowboy team. No. Not going to happen. 1 year, $51 million. Now, I'll say this. If you're Clutch Sports, do you recommend that Jalen Hurts sits out training camp until he gets his contract signed? 5573. Here is the thing to me. He had one great year, but he also had a year turnaround, showing upside and at the end of the stretch to make the playoffs. So you're looking at the improvement from first year starting, second year starting. That's a good metric. It's a fair metric. It's a fair metric. You know, first year starting, second year increase, got the team to play. Yeah, that's a metric. Like, Sills, first year starting to this year. Don't you take into the account. Don't look at any of the numbers. Look at the improvement. Yeah, that's a metric for sure. Absolutely. Can he continue that? And remember something. If Jalen Hurts improves 4% off of what he did a year ago, dude, you're not going to get the giant leap in year 3 because he made that giant leap. But if you get 5% increases at 25, 26, 27, over 3 years, you got a 50% increase in what he did in 2022. You got a player that's elite. You got a player that's elite. But if you're the agency and you're Clutch Sports, do you recommend you not go to training camp? Do you put on a fiasco like Baltimore went through a year ago? Clutch Sports is not in the business, friends, of signing players to cheaper deals. They're not in the business of that. And by the way, Jalen Hurts taking a pay cut, I would never recommend that as an agency to him. And I don't mean taking a pay cut. That hometown discount bullshit, he played under it the last 2 years. I would fire you if you came to me and said, take this amount of money here versus taking that. I would fire you. I would never, ever want an agent that was looking at. Now, look, Darius Slay and Drew Rosenhaus, they saw what Stephon Gilmore got at $8 million. Okay? They saw what he got. Yale goes just starting out. So's Lamar Jackson. Why are they hedging? Don't you think, Yale and everyone else, don't you think the Eagles see the same lane that Lamar's on, that Jalen will be on? This guy's an MVP. I want you to understand something. Lamar Jackson is an MVP before the age of 26. He's an NFL MVP before the age of 26. Do you understand that? Before the age of 26, he's an MVP. Led the NFL in passing, touchdowns. Would you recommend it to Hurts? Hey, maybe you shouldn't play in the exhibition season. Let's see how that goes. Or would you show up and do this? If you don't sign me by July 27th, we're not going to cut a contract. And then come March 15th of 2024, I'm a free agent and I'm going to be like Lamar Jackson. Don't say it couldn't happen. You guys were telling me that they weren't going to lose all these players off their NFC title game. They did. They did. Get this. You know what most of you don't like? Everything I said that would happen happened. Except for Bradbury. I thought Bradbury would be out of town. They kept him. Everyone else is gone. Everyone that I said would leave has left. Everybody got the little panties in a bind. Now they're trying to sell you Rashad Penny and Marcus Mariota and God knows whoever. And signing old guys to $16 million and whatever. Okay, so I don't know how this is going to how about this? Could this get ugly? Brian goes, come on, man. We all know this was going to happen. So you knew you'd lose half your team? How many guys on defense did you lose? CJ, Epps, Edwards, Kaiser White, Hardgrave. So you lost 5 starters. You thought you'd lose 5 starters out of 11 players and think you were going to be a good defense and moving to a 34 where you don't even have the linebackers on your roster? You thought you would be that team? Well, I'll tell you what, you weren't very prepared then. You truly thought that? Losing 5 starters, both safeties, 2 linebackers, and your top D tackle. And most was obvious. Once again, Joshua, you were never built as a dynasty then. You see, all the things you guys are now saying happened. I told you this and you didn't believe it all last year. And it's happened. Yale goes, I think the front office was prepared for it. Really? That's why you're $7 million over the cap as of today? Prepared. Okay, so they're prepared. How are they going to fix this? You're going to go younger? You can't spend the money. You can't sign Bobby Wagner. You have no money for it. When are you going to address this? The reason you could address it last year, Jalen made 1-3. You had a ton of money, even with the $5.4 million in dead cap money you had a year ago. This is going. Hey, I'll tell you what. He may do it. He may. Let me ask you this. What did you think about trading that one of those picks for a top flight linebacker? Would you take that 10th pick and trade him for a top flight defensive tackle on a rookie deal? Would you call up Jacksonville? What's the 10th pick? I'll take the kid Walker. You want it? Do you go into do you take the 10th pick and go get Jalen Carter? Or Will Anderson? If you're uncomfortable with Jalen Carter, do you go get Will Anderson? I think Arizona's probably here. Let's do that now. Let's do that now. Here's the new draft order. After the first week of free agency and after the combines, first pick is Carolina. Well, let's do this. They're taking a quarter. They're going to take a quarterback, right? That's a QB. So no position player. Houston, one of their 2 first-round picks is at 2. Shit, they're taking a quarterback. Probably going to take Bryce Young. 3, Indy. I think they're going to take a quarterback. Shit, I think 3 quarterbacks would go in the first 3 picks. 3 teams need quarterbacks. There's 4 that are going. Now you're at Arizona with a coach that got the head coaching job that Howie hired. Feel a little obligated? Tell you what. Let's change picks. Go from 10 to 4. Got your quarterback, you say? Arizona wants an edge rusher. There's about 3 in this draft that are going to be quality. The kid from Iowa, Texas Tech, and Anderson. Or Jalen Carter. Carter's better than all of them. You see, the defensive coach plays right into Howie. Arizona's the key here to this. If you're going to move in the draft, okay, Philadelphia calls up Gannon and goes like this: let's switch picks. I'll give you a second rounder next year. Okay? A second rounder next year. I think he's probably going to get a comp pick next year too. Let me move up there to 4. Now, wait a minute now. If it's too rich for you, Marshall says, if that start playing those games, I'm not supporting this team anymore. Dude, what are you talking about? Getting Will Anderson and getting a premier guy as a pass rusher on your defense changes the entire landscape and scheme. Or Carter. I think Arizona's taking either Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. I don't think that they would take Tyree Wilson from Tech, and I don't think they take the Iowa kid. I think it comes down to Will Anderson and Jalen Carter there at the 2-hole. Here's the problem, though. Okay? Say they take Will Anderson. Okay? You're still sitting at 10. Seattle wants the DT. They don't need a DT. They just signed a defensive tackle. I think they take Wilson from Tech. I think that pick there is not going to be Jalen Carter. I think that pick there will be Tyree Wilson. Or corner at 5. They just, in free agency, gave a ton of money to a kid. So you hang tight. Detroit's a funny one. Just got a corner. They need an edge rusher. Wait, they just signed one. A year ago, they drafted Aiden Hutchinson. Okay. Are you completely 100% sold on Jared Goff? Or do you go Will Levis from Kentucky? Number 10, Anderson. Number 30, Antonio Johnson. 62, McDonald. Detroit, Jalen Carter, the kid Ness from Iowa, the quarterback. Are you 100% sold on Jared Goff? Or do you think he's a gap guy? Because there's Vegas at 7. They want a quarterback. They're going to draft that quarterback. Detroit and Arizona for Howie in this pick, in this draft, could determine a lot. Anderson's not falling to 10. I think you're going to have to make a move from 6 up at 10 if you want Jalen Carter or if you want Will Levis. Or, excuse me, if you want Jalen Carter or if you want Will Anderson. Because to me, once you get down to 10 and Anderson's off the board, and if Carter's off the board, you're going to take Joey Porter. I think Joey Porter's the 18th ranked corner in this draft. That's overdrafting like you did a year ago. You overdrafted Jordan Davis. You completely overdrafted him. Are you going to do it again? I'm not taking Joey Porter there. Do you trade down then? trade down to Houston to their second number 1 pick at 12. Or you trade down to New England's 14th pick. That's kind of where Porter is. And then draft him there and get some more equity in rounds 2 and 3. See, to me, if I can't get my hands on Will Anderson or Jalen Carter at 10, what's the point of overdrafting again a kid like the kid Gonzalez? I think he's a good player, and I think he's a top 6 guy. Carter's the steal here. Dude, if I were the Eagles, can I tell you the game that's played right now? You're going to hear so much shit on Jalen Carter by the time the draft comes. He may fall to 20. Like Sapp. Like Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was the 26th or 27th player drafted. Do you know why he was the 26th or 27th player drafted? You guys don't know the story. Do you know his roommate was murdered at Miami? Hung out with kind of shady dudes. Kind of got in trouble. Randy Moss smoking weed. How far did he fall? Smoking weed. You're going to hear so much shit. You know why? And you got to kind of like block it out. Because this is what they want. These teams down here like Pittsburgh, Green Bay, New England, the Jets, Philly, Chicago. Dude, Chicago, sitting at 9 would love Jalen Carter. You get those 2 linebackers, and if you're able to draft Jalen Carter at 9, whoa. You built yourself a pretty good-looking roster there, and you know what? Chicago's not going to suck next year. I don't think they're going to win a ton of games, but they're going to win more than 4 games. So, again, I think they're sitting in I think Howie at 10. See, I know most of you people are saying that, dude, the 10th pick. To me, the quality pick's the 30th pick. Because you don't overdraft there and you don't overpay there. You're going to get a quality player that fits the 30th pick there. That's the pick. The 10th pick is the gamble. Trade down, get 3 picks. Dude, did you watch did you watch that tape that Brian Baldinger put out there of him? Did you watch that tape? He was freaking spectacular. Ran plays down, rushed the passer, got back in his run lanes, got back in his pursuit lane. He was spectacular. He was great. Taking Bijan, absolutely not going anywhere near a running back at 30. You got bigger fish to fry. You got to fix that defense. Dude, the offense with Hurts is going to be fine. They're going to be fine because the rest of the NFC blows. You have massive schematic holes on defense. You want to play at 34? You can't. As of right now, you can't play the defense he covets. You get Will Levis, you get Jalen Carter, put those guys with Fletcher in a rotation at the nose, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, that all shit makes sense then. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, that makes a ton of That makes a ton of sense. Because look, your front 4 with your depth is probably going to hide some of the inequities that your linebackers are going to possess. Plus, you got to remember something. If you're in a 34, that means that Nakobe Dean has to line up over a guard. That's a disaster. He's like 6 feet, 190 or 215 or 220. He's a little dude, man. There's a reason he came out of college with shoulder injuries. He's a small guy. You put him in a 43, you can hide behind D tackles. You could put a smaller dude back there with big dudes. Dude, the reason that Kaiser and TJ Edwards had great years, look at the monsters that were in front of them. Dominican Sue's going to the Hall of Fame, maybe. Fletcher, Linville, Hardgrave. Those are professional defensive tackles that know the nuances of the game. That is hard to get around. And you're going to go to this now. As of today, Fletcher, Jordan, Milton, the lack of experience in your interior D tackles on this day is a massive fall off from where you were a year ago. In professionalism alone, and I mean preparing for games. When you play in a 34 defense and you're the nose and you get blown off the ball, 1 yard. Think of how many yards the linebackers play off, 3. That means before you even get to the hole where the running back goes, that running back's got a 4-yard head start on you. It's plus yardage. That means if the nose tackle gets blown off the ball, you've got to walk back further. And that means your scrape lane is deeper. You're giving up yards against the run. The group you have right now can't stop the run. They got a lot of work to do. All right. I want to finish this up here, okay? And go down to the 30th pick. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National.